Good morning, everybody. I want to talk to you guys today about a very important topic, very significant document here in American history, and that is the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation was our first Constitution. And just kind of a refresher of your memory, a Constitution is a document that outlines the structure of government. The Articles of Confederation was too weak. It was a failure. It was drafted in 1787, and it was replaced in 1787. So it lasted for about 10 years. It lasted during the a period of time that the Americans were fighting the British for its survival, to get rid of the British in the American Revolution. But the Articles of Confederation, by 1787, after the war, the Americans decided, or the U.S. government decided, those in power decided that it needed to be at least revised, and eventually it was replaced. Articles of Confederation was too weak. The federal government could not do the following things: tax citizens, regulate trade between states and foreign nations. It could not establish a stable system of money, and it could not, or it did not, have a national judicial branch. If you can't tax citizens, if you can't raise taxes or raise money in any way, shape, or form, the U.S. government or any government cannot do things for the people. It can't raise an army. And that's why taxation, a lot of people, who likes to pay taxes? Nobody likes to pay taxes, but taxes are a necessary thing. I mean, without taxes, there is no army. There are no roads. There are no services for the American people, for people. You can't regulate trade between states and foreign nations. So the state of Georgia, all of a sudden, they can strike up a treaty with France. No, I don't think so. Georgia's not a country. It doesn't act on its own. The only body that can really strike up treaties, or should be able to strike up treaties or agreements with other countries, is the federal government. So that's not going to work. You got to have a stable system of currency. It's not like every state can go around and have its own, dollar. That's ridiculous. And then, they only had one branch of government: no president, no Supreme Court, no federal laws. I mean, the federal government just didn't have enough power. This is a direct test question, by the way. The Articles of Confederation favored the state governments. It favored state independence over federal power, over the federal government. So I want you to keep that in mind. People realized that the Articles of Confederation it wasn't going to work. That Constitution was going to not exist because of Shays' Rebellion 1787. People threatened to overthrow the new government, to overthrow the United States. A bunch of people in Massachusetts were upset. Farmers who were very poor, their farms were being foreclosed upon because they couldn't pay their mortgage. They started to rebel in 1787 and started a riot. The federal government did not have enough power to stop them. It took a bunch of rich people in Massachusetts to stop the rebels, to stop those rioters. So the federal government didn't have any power. And so not only was the United States vulnerable to inside threats, people overthrowing the government and a new rebellion, but it was also vulnerable to outside threats. Let's say France wanted to come over and fight the United States and try to take it over. It could, and the United States probably would have lost. Let's say Britain wanted their colonies back, and they wanted to come back and fight the U.S. and make the 13 states 13 colonies again. The U.S. probably couldn't do much about it because it couldn't raise an army, couldn't defend itself, because you got to have taxes to raise an army, and the Articles of Confederation didn't do the job. So the people of the United States realized they needed a new constitution. 55 delegates met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1787. The original goal was to revise the Articles of Confederation, but the end result was the drafting of a new constitution. And it was a success because that constitution is the one that we have today. So if I'm writing an ID response on the Articles of Confederation, I can say, for a definition, the Articles of Confederation was the first American Constitution. That's number one. Number two, for examples, details, I can talk about why it failed. I can talk about the fact that it could not tax citizens. I could talk about the fact that it didn't have a judicial branch. It didn't have an executive branch. It didn't have a president of the United States. I could talk about the fact that every single, and this is extremely significant, every single state was like its own country. The United States was not united. They were states. They weren't really United States. Significance. Why is it significant? Well, out of the Articles of Confederation failure came the Constitution that the United States has today. So without the Articles of Confederation, without it failing, we would not have a stronger federal government. We would not have the Constitution that we have today. We would not have the Bill of Rights. We wouldn't have the three branches of government. We wouldn't have a system of checks and balances. All those things that came out of the Constitutional Convention and the new Constitution came because of the failure of the Articles of Confederation. So that's essentially the first government that the U.S. had. I hope everybody's having a great day. Please let me know if you have any questions whatsoever. And also, please be diligent on completing and keeping up with your assignments. I will see you all later.